of the Islamic Academy of Sciences and currently serves as president of the Iraq Academy of Sciences. His topic will be the prospect of excellent centers and universities in the Arab countries, the Iraq experience. Professor El-Rawi.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Mr. Chairman, fellow members of the Academy, dear friends. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It gave me great pleasure and honor to be in this conference and to meet a friend and a great man, Dr. Hassan Dogramachi, and to thank him for the host and for the great atmosphere that created for us in this conference. My paper started when I visited our headquarters in Amman last year, and my friend Munif al-Zabi gave me a list of the 500 top universities according to the Shanghai study. I was disappointed to see that none of the Arab universities was included in that list. And also for the year 2004, non-Islamic university was included in that study. I might disagree with the criteria used because each country and each region have its own conditions and its culture and so on. And therefore, it is not easy to use the same criteria for all universities around the world, even though I was disappointed to see that no Arab university was included in that list. And this gave me, or oriented, the paper that I am presenting. When I say I was disappointed, because during the Arab Islamic civilization, we witnessed a great centers of excellence at that time. And I regard Bayt al-Hikmah in Baghdad as a great center that have translated all the literature from the Greek language, science, and philosophy to Arabic. And that was the start of our civilization in the Arab Islamic civilization. A number of other schools and universities could be regarded as excellent centers. Al-Nizamiya School, for instance, in Baghdad, is regarded as an academy, which was about 400 years before the first academy in Europe, the Italian Academy of Science. In Al-Nizamiya School, Al-Ghazali, well-known author and philosopher, used to give his lecture at that school. Other schools of interest and universities, Al-Mustansiriya University, Al-Azhar, Al-Zaytuna Institute, and many places in Andalus, where they played a great role in the transfer of knowledge to Europe at that time. This gives me that the Arabs had great centers of civilization, excellence, although the word academy, actually, according to Webster Dictionary, is originated from a place near Athens, where Plato used to meet his students and discuss many problems there. Even so, we regard that academies started in our Arab Islamic civilization. Nowadays in the Arab countries, there is great demand for higher education. We have more than 200 universities around the Arab countries, and the need for excellence seems to be strongly needed. If we look at the philosophy of education in the Arab countries, we see that education spread in the last 25 years, 30 years of time. The compulsory primary education have been applied to many Arab countries, up to the primary school, some of them higher. Campaign to reduce illiteracy is taking place. Greater demand for higher education naturally grows with the growth of education. There have been in the past two philosophies for university education. One was university education should be limited to the elite, and the other, with the spread of students and demand for higher education, the second philosophy, which is taking place nowadays in practically all other Arab countries, is higher education should be the right to every citizen capable of doing his higher education. University goals. I regard university goals, three university goals in general. University is to transfer knowledge to the students, and this is done by teaching. The other goal is to generate knowledge, and this is done by scientific research. And the third is the application of this knowledge. Could be carried out by extension centers. In the Arab countries, usually we do the first philosophy or the first goal very well. Otherwise, we teach, the teaching staff do their best to teach and to give the students what they know from knowledge on transfer of knowledge. Generating of knowledge, the research is still very limited. The application is even worse for the extension centers. Our problem with education, and I served as president of the Arab Federation of Teachers for quite some time, so I had a chance to see many Arab countries and to visit the schools. We teach how to memorize rather than how to think and analyze. At the university, the staff to students ratio is now about 1 to 25. But our problem, more than 40% do not possess a PhD, but rather an MSc, which is critical at this time. However, it is encouraging to see that the use of internet and computers is becoming familiar. The expenditure on science and technology is low. The expenditure of the Arab countries on science and technology is very low even now. And the table here shows R&D expenditure as a share of GDP, and we see that the Arab countries usually had the least between the countries listed, which have been reported earlier in the session is about 0.2%. What are the features of excellence among universities? I feel that the features of excellent universities should be independence from government and so on. It should have a good tradition and stable tradition. It should have a scientific reputation. The staff should be selected from proper staff who could give the university its name. We should have high staff to students ratio and the balance between graduate and undergraduate students, good facilities and library, and this should be open to students for long hours so that they could go and to the labs and to the library when they want for longer hours. Excellent universities usually generate new ideas and patents that help industry, produce books and original research paper. Graduate and the staff, usually some of them receive distinguished prizes, including Nobel Prizes, and excellent universities should have an impact on the society and graduate leaders to the society. The Shanghai study that I mentioned gave the top universities in year 2004, with Harvard #1 and Stanford University number 2 up to Chicago University number 10. But these criteria and the evaluation change from time to time. This is for the year 2004. In the year 2005, we see some changes. We see that Cambridge, which is listed here as number 3, jumped to the 2nd place, while Oxford University in England, rated here number 8, in the year 2005 was to number 10, according to the Shanghai study, and so on. The top 500 outstanding universities distributed among the countries is shown in the table, which is probably not very clear, but the United States have about 186 excellent universities in the year 2004, an increase to 172 in the year 2005, and probably Germany, United Kingdom, about 43 and 42, and it goes down. But if we take the population into consideration, which in my mind is important, to see the excellent university for each million of the people, then Switzerland and the Scandinavian countries come to the lead. Israel is an exception. It has a high rate also. You could see the table up. It goes from 168 up to 1 for Mexico. But this list does not include any Arab or Islamic country in the year 2004. The criteria chosen by the Shanghai University study have been discussed, I think, this morning, but this is the breakdown for the grades given, weights given to each particular point. Nobel Prizes take about 30%, 10% alumni of an institute winning Nobel Prize, and the staff 20%, so this comes out with about 30%. High-cited research in 21 broad subjects take 20%. Article published in Nature and Science, 20%, and so on. Finally, the criteria which we might agree or might not agree with this criteria. After that introduction, why the importance of excellent universities in the Arab countries? There is a great demand for university education, and universities have greater students enrollment than it can normally accommodate. This is the situation now. We have limited facilities in many of our universities. Qualified teaching staff to students ratio is low. Scientific and academic atmosphere is lacking in many of our universities. The financial resources is limited in many of our countries, except probably the Arab Gulf states. Governments cannot spend lavishly on education and research. From this point of view, it seems to me logical to concentrate on some research centers and universities to make them centers of excellence, since we cannot spend in all our universities for the time being, because the GDP of our countries is low as a general, with exception. The government and society should encourage these centers morally and financially. This will leave the majority of the universities to accommodate the masses of students seeking higher education. What is the Iraqi experience along this line? Actually, we started early to think of schools and universities or centers to be of excellence. We started with 3 levels. I will talk about 3 levels: secondary schools, research centers, and universities. With the secondary schools, we had Baghdad College. It is called a college, but it's actually secondary school. It was established in 1936 by the American missionaries. And the orientation of this school at the beginning was oriented towards Christian students and upper-class Muslim students. It teaches in English, most of the subject, or practically all the subjects. It had selected staff members, and it had a good atmosphere to create better students. This had been nationalized in 1970, and now it is under the control of the Ministry of Education. They accept students with higher grades at the primary school, usually 95% and above, and they carry out entrance exam to the students and interview, and therefore the students are selected carefully. The second school is King Faisal College. It's also called college, but it is actually secondary school. It was in the 40s, 1946 to 1948, but the students were selected from the first students in each primary school. They go to this college, and then in 1948, the students joined the riots, anti-government riots in Baghdad, and therefore they closed the college, the Faisal College, King Faisal College in 1948, so it didn't stay for long. Lately, in the 1990s, the Ministry of Education started thinking of excellent secondary schools, and they start these schools to teach in Arabic, but also they concentrate on the top students from the primary schools, those who take grades 95 and above, and they enter special entrance exam, and they interview sometime. And still, these schools are functioning in Baghdad and other towns. And usually the graduates from Baghdad College, which is still continuing, and the excellent schools, many of them goes to the top colleges. They take the higher grades at the school exams, and many of them enter the College of Medicine or College of Engineering, which requires higher grades. As far as scientific research, I could recognize two institutes that had a kind of excellence, or it was oriented to be an excellent centers. One of them, the Organization of Nuclear Energy. This was established in 1956 and given special support after 1975. It is known that Israel, with the United States' encouragement, attacked the Iraqi nuclear reactor in 1981 and assassinated a number of scientists in an effort to prevent any Islamic country from entering this field. The organization was bombed many times during the American aggression on Iraq, from 1990 up to 2003, and finally all the research came to an end at the American occupation of Iraq in the year 2003. The second research was the Scientific Research Council. This was established in 1963, but given special support in 1980. The productivity of the researchers increased from 0.3 to 1.5 published papers per year during 1980 to 1989. Otherwise, the productivity increased 5 times in 9 years. 23% of the papers were published by well-known journals outside Iraq, and the evaluation of these papers comes reasonably high in originality. The staff of the Scientific Research Council increased during this 9 years, from 1980 to 1989. The PhDs holders were 52, increased to 259. MSc degrees were 48, increased to 350. BSc used to be 210, increased to 510. The council, with its 9 centers, began to solve many problems, give consultants, and it used to have many professors come to the Scientific Research Council to do their research. And we trained many students and tried to help in many areas. The Council, when it was on its way to become a center of excellence, when it was illuminated in 1989, its centers were distributed to different ministries, each in its own specialization. University education. We had Saddam University created in 1988 to be an excellent university with a small number of students and to be given a special care. And I will not talk about this because my colleague, Professor Matanna Shanshal, will talk in detail about the university, Saddam University, which have been changed in 2003 to be Al Nahrain University. And it was connected to the Ministry of Higher Education and driven all the good things that was in the original university, where at some time the salaries of the teaching staff was 3 times as much as the salaries of regular universities, and they were given special care. This when it had been joined to the Ministry of Higher Education, it became a regular university. To conclude, the Arab countries need political stability and strong democratic leadership. Second, improve their education system. Third, accommodate a greater number of university students. At present, the Arab universities cannot be classified as excellent due to a lack of financial resources. This is most of the universities. And shortage of qualified teaching staff and facilities. From this, it seems logical to concentrate on a few universities and research centers and offer them all the material, financial, educational, and political support possible to create centers of excellence. And I feel confidence that in the very near future,